Every time I come here, I'm reminded how much I love rich people. This place wouldn't be here without that.
Nice of someone to take his oil fortune and put it into something that is aesthetic for generations that follow.
And
Esther and Jerry said they spent more time, they are certain, over the years that they've known about this estate than the man who built it.
Well, he left it to you. So, oh, and by the way, your transportation problems are solved. I gave Scotty a number of the most honorable men in the United States who has your airplane and can solve your problem. I have a question that I'm kind of afraid to ask. And it has to do with something I really think happens because I think it happened to me. And that is, I think that Source can intervene and interfere for my benefit. I am.
But not outside your intentions or requests. Maybe outside your ability to perceive or remember the request, but never outside your request.
It was very specific.
Yeah.
I'm aging and I wasn't growing fast enough, and I wasn't going to get there. So I conjured up the world's largest contrast, and it was beyond belief. It was the most pain I've ever had, and I really thought I was going to die. And in the middle of that, I just couldn't do anymore. I gave up. And I asked Source to help me.
Oh.
I reached out and I said, I need some help. And I got it.
Yeah.
But I got it over a period of time. But I get it. I mean, I remember, and I don't remember the story exactly, where it was something about Jerry in a Volkswagen or something, or you were on the expressway and you knew that a wreck was going to happen. And something intervened and it came in and did it. It's like when I'm in my house and I lose my keys. I do this all the time. I go, hey, Abraham, where are the stinking keys, And my face, something just grabs there they are, Or if it's not quick enough, if Source is going to play with me, then they're not there. And I go, well, damn it, you always give me that. And then 3 minutes later, there they are, So I guess what I'm asking is about prayer. Because
apparently Source likes foul language in prayers.
Oh, you haven't heard anything yet, but but I want to know if Source has my back.
Always.
And if I'm in trouble and I'm not, therefore, in the vortex, does that mean I can't get any help until I get in the vortex?
Well, it means you are limiting your ability to receive the impulse that takes you in the direction of your help. Because as you have described in the example, at least of the keys, it's an impulse to do something. In other words, you have to receive the impulse, and if you're out of sync, then often you can't. But your ability to receive from Source is a combination of two factors, and you've already clearly stated them, but we'll state it again. It's a combination of the intensity of your desire and the degree of your allowingness. And integrated into that also, you have to understand that through life, you've put more into the vortex than you even are consciously aware of. Mm-hmm. So Source is always taking you in the direction of who you really are and what you ultimately are wanting.
Right.
Always. No exception to that. The only question worth asking on this topic is, how is my receiving ability right here and now? And sometimes, you see, as we've defined the step 1, step 2, step 3 process, you're not in step 1 at the same time that you're in step 3. Mm-hmm. It's one or the other. And if you can consciously be aware that once you've asked for something, you don't have to continue to ask for it. The thing that holds people apart from the answers that they are seeking is that they're keeping the problem or the question too active in their vibration. If you could just ask it, and as you said, let it go, give up, surrender to it. So sometimes a person has to get pretty desperate before they finally let go enough to allow it. And so you get to practice that and play it out any way you want.
What happened was, for me, it became a matter of faith. It had to do also with the definition for me of trust. And this came to me, and I'm not sure I understand it. And that was that, for me, trust was always something, a control issue. You know, if I know what the outcome's going to be, then I can trust it.
Yeah, it doesn't work out very well, does it?
But
I believe it when I see it.
But that's not trust.
Oh.
And then something came to me. It said, trust isn't a feeling, trust is an action. Trust is something I do because I have faith that whatever happens is just fine.
Well, any way you want to work it out so that it lines up for you. We'd say that trust and faith are both emotional states of being, that when you accomplish one or the other of them, then you're in a place of allowing, and then you will be inspired to the action. And we're not really big proponents on encouraging yourself into action in order to find the trust. We really encourage you to be in that feeling of trust and then follow through with inspired action.
Because that's a knowing.
Yeah. Along the emotional scale, we've talked about a hoping. Well, in hoping, there's still some resistance. You want it, and you want it more than anything, but there's still some resistance within it. Well, hoping is a lot better than disbelief, and it's a lot better than anger, but it's not out in the clear zone yet, because there's still resistance within it. And that's why hope often feels like yearning. But it's a step in the right direction. It's many steps in the right direction. So the processes that we are offering, and especially those that we've been talking about in these hours the last couple of days, is that as you reach for things that sort of clear you and make you feel better, as you go general and clear the discomfort, you can't clear discomfort without clearing resistance. And when you clear resistance, then hope bumps over into belief. Well, belief is still not completely out in the clear zone, because belief is right on the edge. Knowing is really where you want to be. But you have to have some believing that allows some evidence before you go into that knowing. Mm-hmm. We don't expect any of you to just take our word for anything. We love when you have experiences that give you that confirmation. Yeah. And as you repeat them to yourself, as you play them over and over in your mind, you practice the vibration of them. And then more and more comes until it is so undeniable that it feels ludicrous to you to expect anything less than Source always having your back.
That's right.
You just get so that you can move through life. And then, the feeling of freedom in that is really wonderful, because you're not second guessing yourself all the time, and you're not carrying around a big long checklist of things that you need to do. You're not driving yourself crazy by trying to make sure that you are dotting every I and crossing every T and being just right. You are trusting that what you need will show up when you need it, and that you will be in the vibrational place to be aware of it. And that really is a wonderful flowing that opens you to so much more opportunity to play with so many others, you see.
The thing that was startling about it was that I've always been alone some way. Even when I was in a relationship, I would essentially be alone. And it's not like that all the time. But when that happened, I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
And it was like I would never be alone again.
Yeah.
And it was like I was in a relationship with everything. I was you and everybody in here and everything. I was just, and then all of a sudden, instead of having this vision like this, my peripheral vision expanded and opened.
Seeing the world through the eyes of Source.
And it was unbelievable.
Yeah. But not unbelievable, believable.
Yeah.
And
yeah. But so it's okay. I mean, you can ask for, asking it is given. You can ask for more Source, and you get more Source. I guess that's what I want to know.
It isn't quite like that. It's that your desire gathers more momentum.
Right.
And when you allow a desire that's gathered more momentum, it is more exhilarating as it flows into your experience.
Yeah.
So we're talking about two things. We're talking about focus and we're talking about the longevity of the focus. Well, what we're really talking about is focus without resistance. It falls into the category that you've heard us describe before, that all genius is attention to a subject. Non-diluted attention to a subject, because that allows it to gain momentum. So it makes you translate it as more enthusiasm, more energy, more power, more accomplishment. So it feels like a bigger request. But we want to say to you, your request can't get much bigger. It's not the making the request bigger that you're really wanting to work on. It's letting the resistance be lower so that there is more comprehension and more awareness of the momentum.
It's like a participation. It's like you say, early on you used to say that everything you want is downstream.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like getting into a river of energy. And you just kind of ride the magic carpet.
But isn't it much more satisfying if you are defining as you go and receiving as you go? Don't you really love that sensation of directing the energy that creates worlds?
Except I don't really want me. My vortex is so full, I just want to sit here and get whatever's coming.
Well, that's what we are trying to sort of guide you into understanding something fuller about, because the vortex is always going to be full.
Okay.
The question is, are you enjoying your relationship with the content of your vortex?
Yeah.
And so for a while we were talking to you about, you stand here and your vortex is here and you want to get in the vortex, and you all understood that you do want to get in the vortex. But now we're wanting you to accept that the vortex is ripe with all kinds of wonderful things, and now we want you to move to that next understanding of the deliciousness of having control of the momentum of what's in the vortex. In other words, as it unfolds in this remarkably perfect dance, that's when you say things like, Source has my back. And we want you to understand that you don't have to get into a jam to cue Source up to play with you in a very specific way, because Source wants to play with you when you're at the top of your game. Source is presenting an idea to you and reveling in your connection with it. Source is thrilled that you're out on the golf course and reveling with you in the vitality of your physical apparatus. Source is aware of what you're wanting to accomplish in every conversation, in every situation, and wanting you to have the best of those experiences. And something that we attempt to convey that's hard for you to receive is that when you are in an aligned moment, it just about doesn't matter what it is that you're doing that Source is doing with you, because if Source is doing it with you, you're liking it, you see.
So I can
The only time you're complaining about stuff is when you're doing it on your own, so to speak, without allowing the full benefit of Source to be there. You can be talking with a child who's 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 10, and of course it's not the stimulating conversation that you might have with an adult who's on the same wavelength and interested in something that you're really interested in. But if you have decided to give your undivided attention to this conversation, so that you are tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and Source is right there with you, the deliciousness of this unfolding will rock your world and the world of the child that you're interacting with as well, you see. There is so much richness and ripeness and deliciousness to be discovered everywhere you are. You do not have to come to the beautiful Biltmore Estates to find the beauty on this planet, because it is in every corner, it is in every alley, it is around every bush and tree, it is everywhere. The potential for a moment of alignment and empowerment is there for you always, you see, always. And when you discover that it's everywhere, then you're free. You are the center of the universe, and you can, as you say, sort of sit and wait for it to come. But you got to get out there and meet it. Get out there where people are, where things are, and allow it to flow through you in a fuller way.
Go play.
Go play. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.